traveled with a teacher for 18 years. And there's a story he would tell. It's a simple story. Someone in New York came home late from work or play, and as they got close to their apartment, they had their keys in their hand, but then somehow they dropped their keys between the metro station and their apartment door. And so they're looking along the street, trying to find those keys. It's dark out, so it's hard to find them. There's a street lamp along the way, so he's looking under the street lamp. And a neighbor lives in the same building. He sees him, he's like, "Hey, what's going on? You lose your keys?" "Yeah, I lost my keys. I had them in my hand, but then somehow or other I was juggling my shopping and my bag. I was trying to get it all together to be ready to open the door, and somehow I misplaced the keys along the way." And so the friend said, "I'll help you." So they're looking for 10 minutes in this area under the street lamp, and then the second person who's helping out, after a little while, he says, "Look, where exactly did you drop them? I mean, this area under the street lamp, it's only so large. It's I was gonna say only 20 meters or 15, but then you guys don't know, I don't know feet, so anyway, it's not that big." I haven't figured out how to translate yet. And the man says, "Well, I don't know. I mean, when I last had them, I was coming up from the metro. And then, but why are you looking here?" "Well, here we have the light. This is where the street light is." And my teacher would tell this story to illustrate how we're looking for happiness. Anyone here that doesn't want to be happy? And so I think I'm starting with the assumption that we all want to be happy. To the Declaration of Independence, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone has an inalienable right to the pursuit of happiness. Yeah. But where are we looking? That's the issue. The man looking under the street lamp was looking at the wrong place. And where we look, where we invest our energy, our attention, our time, it may be that it's not the right place. When I was introduced, it was said that I am a professor as well. My undergrad studies were in psychology. My master's thesis was actually on happiness. My doctorate was on compassion. And so in psychology, there's a formula for happiness that's given. H for happiness equals G plus C plus C. Genetics, circumstances, and the last one is most interesting for us: consciousness. Genetics, yeah, we might laugh at that because it's fixed. So how there are percentages given for each of these elements. 50% genetics. Some babies, they're born with an extroverted personality, others with a more introverted personality. Some are born with an attitude, a personality that's open to learning and experimenting. Others of us are more set. And we just like our routines, what we already know, what works for us. These are fixed personality traits, characteristics. And the science suggests that they predict 50% of our mood, of our feeling, of our happiness, if you will. How did they reach this conclusion? With studies with identical twins raised apart. So identical twins, they share the same genes. They look the same. Anyone here have a twin? Yeah, okay. Identical? No, all right.
I met one yesterday.
Yeah, all right.
I was walking down the street, they invited me to a party.
Okay, well there you are.
It was so cool.
Yeah. And was the other twin at the party?
Yeah, it was their birthday. They
Okay.
turned 33.
Okay,
The
yeah.
nicest people I've ever met.
That's fun. Yeah, so twins who are not identical, you shared your mother's same womb at the time, but different genes. But identical twins, same genes, they just, yeah. And so studies with twins who are raised apart, it means they get adopted at birth and then raised in different families. And why are these particular twins so interesting? Because although they're raised apart and have different socialization experiences in terms of parenting, education, peer groups, they still have uncanny correlations in terms of their interests and their likes and their dislikes, life choices, marrying the same kind of partner with the same, they look like each other, might even have the same name, even though they've never met each other before. When they do meet, or when the scientists track them down and look at their life stories, they find all these uncanny similarities. They both have the same profession. They both name their kids the same names, things like that. And when they do the personality profiles, when they take personality profiles, the probability of them being similar is 50%. And so, maybe I was Harry Potter and I had a magic wand and I made us all here identical, not twins. What would we be? It's quite a big group. But if one of us were feeling down, there would be a 50% probability that the others in the room would be feeling the same way. One of us was feeling joyful, a 50% probability that everyone else will be feeling that same emotion. So why is this interesting for the quest for happiness? It means there's some portion of that quest that's already fixed for you. at least from a psychological perspective. Psychological science. I mean, we go into yoga, so it looks at these things a little differently. But as a starting point. Okay, so that's genetics, 50%. What's the other 50? Circumstances. Yeah, so circumstances is interesting. How much does it account for? 10%. And it's interesting because in our society, that's where we tend to invest most of our efforts at feeling better, at being happier. Society sells us the idea that if you get more, bigger, better, you will be happier. More things, better gadgets. You have a one-room apartment. If you got a two-room apartment, you will be so much happier. Imagine all that extra space. You live 5 minutes, 10 minutes from the metro. Imagine if you lived right on the stop. How much? We're living pretty close to the stop here, right? We feel the we feel the vibrations. So we have this idea. Society tells us the faster computer, the newer gadget, iPhone or
followers on Instagram.
oh yeah, more followers on Instagram. There we are. Look at, I'm trying to current examples. Thank you. More Insta likes. Happier. I don't know, do I say bigger car for New York? I don't think people really have cars, right? Bigger house, that's why I went with another room. When I speak in Australia, I say bigger house. I don't know that that works for New York. So circumstances. Why isn't it effective? It is the number one strategy that all marketing, yeah, your Instagram, your YouTube, your television, your newspapers, your magazines, they're all telling us better things, more things, we'll be happier, and the research shows us it's actually not effective. You're thinking, if I had a little money, I would be happier. And the research says it's true to a limited extent. If you don't have anything, if you're starving and you don't have a roof over your head or clothes on your back, a bit of money will help. You will be happier if you get food, shelter, clothing. What about if you already have food, shelter, clothing? Those human needs are being met. More money actually doesn't make much difference. Any ideas of why this might be?
Diminishing returns.
Diminishing
Yeah,
returns.
good. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, very good. Diminishing returns. A diminishing return because of human adaptability. We adapt to our environment. We are very adaptable. We quickly become familiar, whether it's an increase in our material possessions or a decrease. We adapt. A bettering of our material situation or a worsening, 6 months later, the rate, like when people get, self-report happiness ratings, it's the same. we return to what is referred to as our set point.
Steady state.
Huh?
Our steady state.
Right, steady state, yeah. Homeostasis. So adaptability. Human beings in particular are incredibly adaptive. If you look, the Gallup organization for the past many, many decades has been asking people to rate their happiness. And if you overlay the average income in the United States with the average happiness rating, incomes have increased, adjusted for inflation. Houses have gotten bigger, cars faster. And happiness is basically a flat line. Basically. What about age? Are younger people happier than older people? What about gender? Are some genders happier than others? So we can look at demographic profiles as well. Interesting thing is, they pretty much wash out overall. As an example, males, females, I don't know the wider spectrum of responses, but in terms of the research that I'm familiar with, females experience higher highs and lower lows. Men are kind of just more in the middle, average. Minor increases and decreases, but overall it averages out. Males and females are not necessarily happier than each other. Similarly with age, younger people get excited about certain things that older people don't get excited about. Older people get excited about things that younger people. So these things just tend to wash out those differences. And so where does that leave then our quest? The quest for happiness. If we adapt, if the genetic set point is fixed, and we adapt to our circumstances, what do we have left for the pursuit of happiness? Consciousness, yeah. That's what the yoga tradition has emphasized for thousands of years. And that's what psychology is also finding can make a difference. Our attitude. We practiced earlier, disciplining the mind. The Bhagavad Gita says, Mantra sparshastu konteya sitoshna sukha agamapaino rityastam statikshasva bharata. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and the disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of summer and winter seasons. They arise from perception. Yeah, it's the mind, how we perceive things. And one must learn tolerance. Perception is interesting. The mind is very interesting. How we perceive things informs our experience of them. we perceive the world informs our experience of the world. We perceive the world as hostile, we become defensive. We perceive the world as threatening, we perceive the world as negative. It's going to be our experience. So the mind has great power here. Consciousness has great power. And so learning to direct consciousness, learning to direct the mind with higher consciousness, that's a very powerful practice. We had a little practice earlier. Just giving some direction and discipline to the mind rather than letting it wander. Giving it some direction and focus. We can taste something very powerful and profound. Rather than letting the mind wander out, trying to find happiness in changing situations and circumstances, new thrills, to fill a void. Bigger, better, faster. And investing all of our energy there. The yoga tradition says, look within. Seek that happiness within. I told you that story earlier about the lamp and the keys. There's another story my teacher would tell. This is a more ancient story from India. There's a type of deer, it's called the musk deer. Who knows the special characteristics of the musk deer? Yeah.
They have a special pouch around their chest that emits a fragrance to attract mates, and it's the scent of musk.
Yeah, very good. So musk is it's an intoxicating type aroma. It's very, very it's a very powerful fragrance. And the musk comes from a deer that has a gland, as he said, on the chest. An interesting looking beard, has like a moustache that grows. And so there's a story told in the yoga texts how the musk deer smells that fragrance and becomes attracted. This tastes so delightful. Let me find its source. And so they go out looking in the forest. It starts to emit in a certain season, and so they're smelling the fragrance, and they look for the source of that fragrance in the forest, and they become more and more determined to find it. You know how like you might be trying to find your keys and you're not finding them, and at some point you start to get a bit agitated, like, where are they? If we're not controlling our minds. So that happens to the deer, running through the forest, tripping over things, being scraped by prickles and branches, until it becomes exhausted and collapses. All the while, the fragrance was coming from themselves. All the while we are seeking happiness in the world, trying to change this circumstance, that circumstance, this new thing, that new idea. All the while, our happiness is within ourselves. according to the yoga tradition, our nature is, as soul is bliss. Our nature as Atman or soul is that we are eternal. Atma, yeah. Our nature as soul is that we are sentient, conscious beings. Means there is an inherent knowingness or wisdom. But it is covered over by layers of material identification, false identifications, manufactured identifications, mental projections. I'm successful or not successful. I'm strong or not strong. I'm powerful or not powerful. I'm capable or incapable. All those judgments of the mind. That actually have little to do. They are perceptions that have little to do with reality. Perceptions, projections, socially constructed perspectives, subjective impositions. And so yoga wants us to get through that. Psychology has some nice techniques to at least lift our mood, cultivate gratitude, rather than grumbling over what we don't have and what went wrong. Be grateful for the gifts, the blessings that are there in our lives. Be forgiving, let go of pains and regrets. Don't hold on to those, that baggage. We hold on to it, and we're holding on to trauma that affects our physical as well as our mental well-being, also our physical well-being. Because the mind is that powerful. If I ask you to think of a lemon, yeah? Thinking of a lemon?
It's there.
Huh?
It's there.
It's there, you have it? Okay. Yellow. Juicy. Sour. And what's happening in your mouth? Yeah, saliva. Salivating. You think of that sourness and it creates salivation. A thought, an impression, an idea has a chemical effect in your body. And when you think anger, resentment, aggression, revenge, there are chemical, physiological reactions in your body. Yeah.
Sometimes it could have been like an ego power trip, let's just say hype, validation, and yes, of course, competitive drive, which that causes your whole personality into something that is not what it seems to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that insight. And so these qualities of gratitude, meditation, we had some practice of meditation, just pacify the mind. You could also learn to short circuit anger, regret, jealousy, envy, when it comes up and starts to consume us. follow a circuit that, understand what the triggers are, understand what the environments are. But through a regular practice of meditation, a regular practice of yoga, you can change your mode of your thinking, perceiving, being in the world. You can rewire the circuitry of your brain, but of your mind, your mental states. You can change your mind, literally. Right? I changed my mind. We know it linguistically. You can change your mental patterns, your mental frameworks for more resourceful and hopeful ones. So, psychology can help with some tools like this. Yoga has been working with this for thousands of years. And yoga goes deeper as well. Because what is this mind that we're changing? Who's changing the mind? We say, I'm changing my mind. Who are you? So my mind is always judging, but who are you? My mind is judging me. So there's a sense of the mind being apart from self. So it's like, I want it, but I don't want it. It's like there's a split personality there. So the yoga texts speak about manas, buddhi, atman. Mind, intelligence, and self. The yoga diagnosis says that our ailment, our struggle to be happy is because we're identified with the mind as the self. And intelligence is under the sway of the mind. Mind says, I want that ice cream. I want that slice of cake. I want that boy-girl position thing. I see it. I want it. I like it. Excuse me. And so like this, we are slaves to the mind. We need to change that relationship, that power dynamic, where I'm the self, Atman is giving guidance to the mind. We had a little practice with it. And the intelligence, rather than being a servant of the mind, the intelligence is serving the self. The Bhagavad Gita talks about a corrupted intelligence, a misdirected or misguided intelligence. Yeah.
Also, like, sometimes when we have a hard time about taking care of ourselves as a person and a human being, like, yes, we do need someone, but we gotta learn how to take care of ourselves. And then our own journey of self-care and self-love.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. So learning to care for the self, learning self-love. And in Bhakti Yoga, there is help that we receive from up high. So this journey is made easier by connecting, by coming to the perspective or coming to awareness of self, of Atman, and awakening that consciousness, giving guidance to buddhi or intelligence and mind, but also connecting with the Supreme Self, the Param Atman, Supreme Atman. the Supreme Being, the Source, the Creator. And it is there that Atma becomes satisfied and peaceful and happy. So awakening the self, being steady in the self, that's one level. A deeper level is steady in the self, connected with the Supreme Self in yoga. That's linking up. Linking up. We're linking up at many levels. Linking up by giving guidance to the mind, giving guidance to intelligence, being at the level of pure consciousness, Atman, and linking up in loving service to the divine. There's another level of linking up, and that is recognizing all things and beings as part of the divine. And being in a mode of service. This is very powerful. When we are being in a mode of, everyone has to like me, everyone has to recognize me and appreciate me, it's a lot of pressure. I have to give this amazing talk that people will be impressed by me. There's a lot of pressure. But if we come to it, let me be in service. How do I best serve with preparing this meal? How do I best serve with writing this piece? How do I best serve with driving or mothering or fathering or whatever it may be that we do? Rather than doing these things with an attitude of trying to be liked, we do them with an attitude of service. And we end up doing the best job ever. We're taking ourselves out of the center and we put the other there and we're seeing them in relation to the divine. That's called bhakti. That loving service. So that's the attitude we try to cultivate from the Atman platform or the soul platform. And this song that we chant, or this mantra that we chant, it is a song or a prayer or a chant for loving service. Hare Krishna and Rama, a spiritual type teacher, is asked, what does it mean? And the most common response he would give was, it means, oh Krishna. Oh, all attractive. Krishna means all attractive. Oh Rama, source of all joy, let me serve you. Let me be in service. And now imagine, because the bhakti yogis, especially our monks living in the temple here, monastery, they rise early, they sit and they chant this mantra or beads as a meditation practice. Now imagine chanting that with an attitude of prayer for service after they chant for 2 hours. Then you go out into the world and you interact with people in that mood of service. Imagine if everyone did that. What a different world we would live in. Imagine if everyone you interacted with was in a mood of loving service. What a different place this would be. So that's possible. It starts with you and me. Finding that happiness in the self, in loving service, in yoga with the Supreme Self, and in yoga with each other. Any reflections, questions, comments? Yeah.
We talked about genetics and how it has a 50% uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A sway in terms of happiness. How does epigenetics come into play with genetics in that percentage? Meaning epigenetics, the ability for change in gene expression, which I guess would be derived of consciousness then, changing that gene expression. How would that play into the formula for happiness?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm not sure that, because that's from psychological research. I'm not sure of the research on that question. From a yoga perspective, I would say you can transcend even genetic limitations. The perfected yogi, they're not bounded by those limitations. They transcend them. But yeah, that's the general psychological research. I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interesting question to look up. I don't know that studies have been developed that are able to answer that question. Yeah? Yes, we're going to take one more, or possibly two. Yeah?
Yeah, so I was wondering if you could say more about, you spoke in the beginning that our minds, we have a tendency to doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
And actually subvert ourselves.
Yeah.
So maybe it makes sense why we might want to subvert somebody else, trying to gain something. But why would we want to subvert ourselves? Why do we do that? Why does our mind try to betray us in important moments, whatever it is, that our mind will actually turn against us? How can that be? How does that happen?
Yeah, so Atman has been conditioned in a material world, and so we're carrying impressions. From a yoga perspective, we say we're carrying impressions even from previous lifetimes, and they come with doubts, fears, anxieties. If we're not going to take that, we'll say even just from this lifetime, in our experience of growing up, we are subjected to conditional love. We're subjected to betrayals, put downs. We're subjected to judgment, and we internalize that social gaze. We internalize the judgments of peers, parents, teachers, and society more broadly that may give us idealized, even impossible role models or aspirations that unless you achieve a certain level of wealth or beauty or strength or fame or likes, followers, then you don't have value. And so we internalize all of that. And that internalization leads to the, on the mental platform, that self-judgment, undermining, doubt, criticism. Yeah?
I guess we can all give a round of applause if we appreciated Sri Prahlad Prabhu's talk today. And now we can do a little more kirtan, and we're actually going to bring out prashadam, we brought food. So we have spiritual food. Just like many things in Bhakti Yoga, actually the act of sitting and taking food is also an act of gratitude. And it's something we all do as a spiritual practice. So we'll bring out that prashadam, and we can all actually just eat here. If you want to move your cushions around, we'll just serve that out in a minute. And while we're serving, I think if you'd like to lead another kirtan.
Sure, yeah.
Another kirtan.
Yeah. We're done there? Oh, she was gonna play.
No, please.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Thank you for your singing, your clapping, your enthusiasm. You have a delicious looking meal in front of you, so I see many of you are not eating, so I'm stopping the singing so that you can enjoy your meal and enjoy talking to each other as well.
So everybody, give a nice round of applause for our special guest. So this happens every Sunday. We have our program here. And we also have an event here on Tuesday nights. Anybody available on a Tuesday night? On Tuesday night we have a